So I thought I would start off this evening with an important question, and that is this. By show of hands, how many of you here feel you're more captivating than the average person? Okay. That was nice. Thank you for the lighting. I heard a lot of giggles, but not a lot of waves. So kind of a timid group, and that's okay. And I know I'm the third person out here, so I want to make sure you guys are awake. Can I get a quick hey-o? Yes. Perfect. Okay, you're ready for the second question. Second question is, how many of you here feel you're a better driver than the average person? Far more confident group. Right. So it's amazing how we can feel so confident in one area and yet not in another. Let's take the standard bell curve for a second. Now, we all remember the bell curve from high school statistics, and we know that 50% of people are above average and 50% are below in any given situation. That is a fact. But when we polled that question around driving skills, 80% said, yes, I am a stronger driver than the average person, okay? 66 of you in this room feel you are better looking than the average person. Probably higher, right? How about IQ? What? Women, what? Okay, so 93% of folks believe they are smarter than the average person. So I don't know where you guys are like the 7%. But again, we are severely overestimating ourselves in certain areas like driving and IQ, and yet severely underestimating ourselves in really important areas like, am I more captivating than the average person? In other words, do people hear, remember, and take action on what you say? When we polled that question, guess what happened to our numbers? Pew! Dropped really quick. Way into the 30s. Only 36% of folks believe that they are more interesting, more fascinating than the average person. And when we just polled women, that plummeted into the 20s. Right? So what's going on here? We got to figure this out, ladies. Is this a cultural thing, or are we so blinded by our appreciation for others that we're actually failing to recognize our own unique value? How many of you here have children? Good. Awesome. I said that in I meant like it was a happy children, okay? Not like a devious, okay. How many of you, keep your hands raised if you have teens? Love you. Okay, bless you. So I have 5 kids myself. I'm gonna go this way so I can actually see the slide. I have 1 son, 4 daughters. There they are. 2 sets of twin girls in there. So believe me when I say I am right there with you. And I want to share a story about one gal in particular. As you can imagine at LEAD, we get to train amazing high school girls. And I want to share a story about one leader. She is a rock star. She is highly involved in her high school, class officer, honor society, varsity athlete, the whole deal, right? And we watched her blast off to college with world domination on her mind and a killer resume to back it up. And guess what happened? She imploded. She absolutely fell apart. The truth is, we're talking about yours truly, circa 2000. That's me. And I struggled in college, not because I couldn't remember how to do my own laundry. Love you, Mom. I remember that. But because I had spent my entire lifetime building my whole sense of self-worth around achievement and performance. I had never stopped to think about my own value and how to communicate that, right? Work hard to be better. That is a faulty myth that my generation grew up with, the millennials. Work hard to be better. Be smarter than all the other kids in the classroom. Be a better point guard than the upperclassmen so you can snag her starting spot. Be a better friend to the in crowd so that you can stay on top of the social food chain. And that myth followed me into my young adulthood and into my career. I had chosen to believe in the cultural understanding of success. And I was supposed to feel validated and happy and fulfilled in my quest to be the best. The best, right? Gotta get the effect. But by my late 20s, I was not feeling it. I wasn't feeling much at all, frankly. Let's circle back to our teens for a second. Now, our teens, are they living in a different age? Not really. In fact, they have this myth going on, but it's on steroids. Highest GPA, most AP classes, best SAT score, be sports specialized by age 10, that's important. Learn to play the clarinet or the oboe because that shows that you're well-rounded. Make sure that you're working a 10-hour work week, that demonstrates responsibility. And do not forget those umpteen hours of community service because that's absolutely imperative on college applications. Oh, and while all of that is going on, make sure to maintain the highest follower to following ratio on Instagram because that highlights how cool you are, right? That's what's most important. My poor kids, some of them are here. I can actually say some of them are here because I can't get all of them here. There's too many. What I didn't realize and what my kids haven't figured out yet is that this is a myth. Being better is temporary. It's temporary. And it can be toppled in a millisecond by somebody with a bigger following or a fancier degree or a shinier award. It is not enough to be the best. I know that's a controversial remark, but it is not enough to be the best in today's world. And that's very important for our kids to learn. I am going to circle back to Generation Z, all right? So our kids have never known a world in which they couldn't be in a conversation with anyone, anywhere, anytime. It's alarming how connected they are, right? They're always on their phones. But what does that actually mean, connected? So recent studies are showing that our teens are actually becoming increasingly less articulate, and they fear face-to-face interaction. So, couple that with a BBC report just recently released that says that with all of that cyber crazy and all of the scrolling and screen time, that our brains are being rewired to think shorter, not smarter. And that we have been left with the attention span, this is not just our kids, this is all of us in here, of 9 seconds. That's the same as a goldfish. Same as a goldfish, people. All right? So what does that mean for our kids? They have 9 seconds to sell their campaign for class officer, 9 seconds to have that mic drop moment at the debate team regionals? That's impossible. 9 seconds to prove they're the best. It's so hard. And is that really where our focus should be? No, of course not. Because if they continue to focus on the outcome, they're going to completely miss the prerequisite, and that is, am I captivating? Am I interesting? Right? Yeah. We always focus on the outcome. We're going to miss that part. Sorry, I totally got lost in the moment. Line. Yes, thank you. We all have this innate ability to fascinate, built deep within our souls. It's there. We're wired with it. And we really need to embrace it. We need to embrace that ability, and there are ways to do it. But we have marketers and advertisers coming at our teens left and right, telling them to think, act, speak, and even lead in a certain way in order to be successful. That's so difficult. And what do we see happening to our teens? They're starting to conform, right? They're starting to look alike, and they don't even know it. But innately, we are so creative. We are so creative. We are wired for fascination. We want to be spellbound. We want to be intrigued. We want to be different than others. And the good news is, you and me and all of our kids, we can bring about that natural allure by changing nothing, just bringing out our personalities. What I'm talking about are behavioral motivators, or as we like to call them in the leadership development world, leadership triggers. So here's how it works. Every single one of these triggers up here generates a different type of response. So, innovation, if you captivate with innovation, then you are looking at the world in a counterintuitive way. You are all about changing the status quo. You're about going against the grain. This is the language of creativity. If you captivate with passion, this is the language of relationships. It's about fostering that connection with people, that emotional connection with people, and bringing together warmth, like Coke does, right? Share a quote, Coke, or Mod Pizza, who's about to come on. How about power? Power is all about walking into a room and commanding expertise and excellence, right? I can think of a few leaders that can do this really well. It is the language of confidence, like Nike, right? Just do it. They do an amazing job communicating with power. Prestige. Prestige is all about the language of excellence. It's aspirational. It's about elevating respect amongst peers. So think about all of those really cool ads that NBC ran on Olympic athletes, right? Didn't you want to be one of those? Yeah. Trust. When you communicate with trust, you're communicating in the language of stability and consistency, which I love because that's the antithesis of my archetype. So I find those people and I grab a hold of them. Think of brands like Pampers, Johnson & Johnson, Girl Scouts. How many of you here like Girl Scout cookies? Those cookies have never changed, right? And you always look forward to those. Mystique is one of my favorites. This is all about taking a step back to draw people in. It's arousing curiosity. How many of you use Stitch Fix? Oh, I got a couple of oh. Yeah, Stitch Fix is phenomenal, right? Because you fill out a little bit of feedback on the front end, and then they send you this magical package with this element of surprise every month, and it's addicting, but they're using Mystique. Last but not least, alert, the language of detail. So this is about driving urgency. It absolutely must be done on time. IRS is what I think of. Just like, this is all about, you got to get the details down. It's tax season, so it's on my mind. All right, so organizations and companies will pull on these levers every day. They use these triggers to make us buy their services and their products. But guess what? People do as well. We do it in our personalities. So every single one of you here has one particular trigger that you gravitate toward the most. It's just your natural way of doing things. That is your primary advantage. Then you couple that with your secondary advantage, and that becomes your 1-2 punch for the way in which you communicate in your most influential and persuasive way. So let's just look at a couple of examples. Princess Di, Lady Di. So she's the blue chip, and she is a combination of prestige as primary advantage and trust. So all around the world, she was known for bringing classic expertise. That's part of that aspirational piece. How about Jeff Bezos? The maverick leader is the name of his archetype. He's one of the leaders of the most innovative companies in the world, so naturally his primary archetype is innovation. Couple that with power and you got this crazy entrepreneurial mix, right? He's getting things done and he's changing the status quo. Last but not least, the fan favorite, Oprah. Yes, I hear, yes. The beloved mix. So she is passion and trust. So that's about, again, building those relationships and keeping people close with warmth. And then she's able to keep us there because she knows how to do it. And that's why she's had such longevity with her career. So if I leave you with anything tonight, let it be this. Yeah, all of you are one of these. And you're going to figure it out. Let me leave you with this. So the world is a very crowded, ever-expanding, busy place, chocked full of achievers and performers, just like I was up until 18. And we all have strengths. We all have strengths. We all can write. We all can time manage. Those are the things that you do. But in a very cutthroat environment like the one we live in, those strengths simply become commodities. What really matters are your competitive differences. That is actually who you are, way more important. That's how you captivate. and the brand that you carefully construct around those competitive differences. It took me 35 years to realize that I was, in fact, a rock star. No, seriously, like that's my archetype. I am a combination of innovation and passion. And at first it was a little weird. It was like, it sounded like a renegade. It was like out of the box thinker, like bold. And I thought, oh, I don't know if that sounds like me. And then my colleagues said, you just started your own company and you're like totally going this way. And it made sense. And so I lived into that archetype for a year and a half, and it landed me here on the stage talking to you guys tonight. So it definitely, thanks. So it works. The system works. So think about it for yourselves, right? What are your natural advantages? What make you stand out from a crowd? And if you're not sure where to start, you can take our assessment and figure out what your 49 different archetypes are, and then have that be your starting point. But better is always going to be temporary, always. Unearthing your authenticity is forever. So don't strive for better, strive for different. Figure out what makes you tick, own it and embrace it, and then amplify it. And then you too will realize that different is better than better. Thank you.